Welcome to the Sleepy Christian. Tonight, we'll be drifting into a gentle reflection on the Beatitudes, whispered words of blessing and peace, spoken by Jesus on a quiet hillside long ago. Wherever in the world you're listening from, whether you're in a quiet city apartment, a cabin in the mountains, or a cozy home by the sea, I'm so glad you're here. Let your eyes rest, your breath slow, and your heart grow still as we begin. There's a hill, ancient and quiet, where time seems to slow and the noise of the world fades away. Imagine it now. The breeze brushes your face, soft and steady, carrying the scent of wildflowers and distant wood smoke. The sky is wide and open, painted in the soft colors of early morning. And in the hush of this sacred space, something is about to happen. Something beautiful and deeply comforting. Something that will speak directly to the quiet places in your heart. You're not just listening to a story, you're stepping into one. You find yourself among a crowd, but it's not noisy. Everyone has come for the same reason: to listen, to find rest, to be near the one who speaks with a voice unlike any other. People are gathered from all over, some sitting on worn blankets, others perched on the grass, shoulders touching, hearts full of silent questions. Children lean against their parents, old men nod in quiet expectation, and in the center of it all is Jesus, not standing above, but among. He doesn't need to shout. Somehow, his voice reaches everyone, warm and calm, like a river flowing through the soul. You lean in a little, heart open, breath slowing, ready to hear what he will say. And he begins with a sentence that both surprises and settles. "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." The words land softly, but they ripple through the crowd like a gentle wave. No one expected that. Not the strong or the righteous or the accomplished, but the poor in spirit, the ones who feel empty, worn down, not enough, the ones who have come with nothing but open hands. And in that moment, a deep truth begins to take root. In the eyes of the world, weakness may seem like a failure, but here, on this hill, it is the doorway to everything. The kingdom of heaven isn't a far-off place. It's not reserved for the powerful or the perfect. It belongs to those who know they need help, those who don't pretend to have it all together, those who come with their questions, their doubts, their quiet longing. And that means, even in your most fragile moments, even tonight as you lie in the stillness, wondering if you're enough, you are closer to the kingdom than you think. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to come. There's peace in knowing that your emptiness is not a disqualification, but an invitation. In a world that tells you to climb, to chase, to achieve, this voice tells you to rest, to be still, to let go of the striving. Because the kingdom is not about performance, it's about presence. And you are here, listening, breathing, letting these words wash over you like rain over dry soil. You don't have to be anyone else. You don't have to fix anything right now. Just be. Let yourself be small, be human, be held. And as you do, the quiet truth settles deeper still. You are already blessed. The hill is still. The sky above slowly darkens to twilight. A bird calls once, then falls silent. Jesus continues to speak, but for now, these first words linger, cradling your thoughts like a lullaby. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Over and over, like a rhythm, like a heartbeat, this is how it begins. Not with grand declarations or thunder from the heavens, but with a whisper to the weary, a promise for those who've run out of strength. And as night gathers and the stars begin to bloom overhead, you remain there on the hillside, wrapped in peace, knowing that the kingdom of heaven is not far away. It is here, and it is yours. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. The words come slowly, gently, like sunlight filtering through leaves after a long night of rain, and something deep within you pauses. Mourning, such a heavy word. Such a deep ache. Yet here, in the softness of Jesus' voice, it carries no shame, no rush to be fixed, no burden to smile through the sorrow, just a simple, sacred truth. Those who mourn are seen, and more than seen, they are blessed. Imagine the people sitting around you on that quiet hill, each holding invisible stories of loss, of love gone, of dreams that slipped through their fingers like water. A mother whose child didn't survive, a man who's buried his wife, a young girl whose father no longer comes home, and others mourning things they can't name, a deep loneliness, a quiet fear, a sense that something is missing. None of them expected to be called blessed. But now, as Jesus speaks, something breaks open in them, not in despair, but in release. For the first time, maybe ever, they're told that this sorrow doesn't separate them from God. It draws them closer. Sorrow has a strange way of isolating us. It whispers lies, that no one understands, that we are alone in the dark. But Jesus leans into that darkness, not to pull us out too soon, but to be with us in it. His words do not erase grief. They dignify it. They make space for it. They say, your tears are not too much. Your pain is not a burden. Your broken heart is not a failure. You do not have to pretend you are okay. There is blessing here, even here. Let that settle into your soul. Think back on the griefs you've carried. Maybe quiet ones. Maybe storms that shook everything. The loss of someone dear. The loss of what might have been. Even the subtle mourning of time slipping past. Of change that comes too quickly. Of memories that now only visit you in dreams. Jesus sees it all. He doesn't ask you to move on. He doesn't rush your healing. He simply promises comfort. And comfort, when it comes from him, is not a quick fix or a hollow word. It is presence. It is knowing that in your lowest place, you are not abandoned. It is feeling, somehow, that even if the pain doesn't go away tonight, it is not wasted. It is not empty. It becomes part of a deeper story, one where your sorrow becomes sacred ground. So often we're told to be strong, to hold it together, to smile through tears. But here, on this quiet hill with the breeze still gently stirring the grass, Jesus offers another way. He invites you to let the tears come, to admit the ache, to allow yourself the softness of grief. He meets you in the morning, not to judge, but to comfort. He kneels beside you, steady and still, and his presence is enough. If tonight your heart is heavy, know this. You do not need to hide it. You don't need to dress it up in hope before it's ready. You're allowed to rest in the in-between, where things still hurt and healing hasn't fully come. Even here, especially here, you are held. Comfort does not always look like answers. Sometimes it looks like light that slowly returns to the edge of the sky, like a hand reaching out in the silence, like the deep breath that follows a sob. And slowly, as your body softens into sleep and the weight of the day begins to fade, you may feel it. Not the absence of sorrow, but the presence of peace. There is room for mourning in the kingdom of heaven. There is space for your tears. And more than that, there is comfort waiting, patient and kind, steady as the stars above. Not because your sorrow doesn't matter, but because it does. Because it is seen, because it is known, and because in the heart of God, those who mourn are not forgotten. They are blessed, and they are never alone. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. The words settle into the hush, like a feather drifting to the ground, gentle, unexpected, yet full of quiet power. Meekness, a word often misunderstood, often overlooked in a world that celebrates loud voices and high positions. But here, in the presence of Jesus, meekness is not a weakness. It is a hidden strength, a calm rooted so deep it cannot be shaken by storms. It is not about being passive or timid. It is about the courage to stay soft in a hard world, to choose peace when others choose pride, to walk humbly when others race to be first. The people listening that day knew what it meant to be overlooked, to be pushed aside, to live in the shadows of those with louder voices and stronger hands. They were not warriors, not rulers, not the influential. Many of them had spent their lives in silence, with little control over what happened to them. And yet, Jesus looks into their eyes and says something the world never would. The earth belongs to you, not to the conquerors, not to the powerful, but to the meek. What does it mean to inherit the earth? Not in the way of owning land or building empires, but in the way of belonging, of being at home in a world that so often feels unwelcoming. It means knowing that you do not have to claw or compete to find your place. It means resting in the truth that the kingdom of God is not built by force, but by love, by patience, by hearts that choose the quiet way. Meekness is the strength that waits without bitterness. It's the resolve that does not demand but trusts. It's the soul that leans into God when everything else says to fight for your own name. Tonight, as you rest in stillness, you can let go of the need to prove yourself. You can release the grip of striving. You don't have to win every battle. You don't have to be the loudest voice in the room. The gentle are not forgotten. The humble are not overlooked. The earth is not given to those who take it by force. It is inherited by those who are willing to trust the slow, steady unfolding of God's will. In the silence, you begin to understand that real strength is quiet. It doesn't dominate. It doesn't boast. It doesn't need applause. It simply is. Think of a tree rooted deep into the soil. It does not shout. It does not rush. But it stands, season after season, drawing life from the earth, bearing fruit in its time. That is the meek, grounded, unshaken, alive. And slowly, as your mind drifts towards sleep, your own soul begins to feel rooted. You don't have to fix everything tonight. You don't have to defend yourself, or explain, or impress. You are safe. You are seen. You are already walking the path that leads to true inheritance. In the stillness of the night, reflect on the places where you've chosen gentleness instead of reaction, forgiveness instead of revenge, humility instead of pride. Those choices, even when no one noticed, even when they felt small, were sacred. They were strength, they were faith, and they are the seeds of a life deeply blessed. As the world continues to chase after noise and power, you are invited to rest, to believe that the way of Jesus, the way of meekness, is not just noble, but victorious in its own quiet way. It is the way of peace, the way of trust, the way that lasts. And though it may not always look like winning, it is the path of the inheritor, the one who will one day look around and find that the ground beneath their feet is holy, and the world they thought they'd lost has been theirs all along. So now, with the words of blessing wrapped gently around your heart, you can exhale. You are not falling behind. You are not forgotten. You are walking with the one who sees what the world overlooks, and he calls you blessed. Blessed in your quiet strength, blessed in your steady trust, blessed in your meekness. For this earth, this life, this peace is already beginning to be yours. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. The words stir something deep, something ancient, a longing you've carried for as long as you can remember, not a craving for food or water, but a deeper hunger, a soul-deep thirst for things to be right, for the brokenness in the world and in yourself to finally be mended, for justice to roll like a river and peace to flow like a never-ending stream, for wrongs to be made right, for hearts to be healed, for goodness to prevail. You've felt it before. In moments when cruelty cut through kindness, when the news brought grief instead of hope, when someone was hurt and no one seemed to care, when love was withheld, when truth was ignored. Maybe you felt it even more personally, in the way people treated you, or how you treated others, or in those quiet moments when you saw yourself clearly and longed to be better, to be more than what the world told you to be. This hunger, this thirst, is not a weakness. It is not a failure. It is a sign that your heart is still alive, still open, still yearning for God's goodness to take root and bloom. Jesus doesn't condemn the hunger. He doesn't ask you to quiet it or cover it. He names it. He blesses it. He promises satisfaction, not in some far-off dream, but as something real and near. And that promise is not a temporary fix or a fleeting comfort. It is the deep, lasting fulfillment of a soul that finds its true food in the presence of God. Because righteousness is not just about moral perfection or doing everything right. It's about rightness, right relationship with God, right relationship with others, right relationship with yourself and the world around you. It's wholeness, shalom, the peace of everything in its rightful place. There are seasons when this hunger feels sharp, even painful, when you see injustice and feel helpless to stop it, when you want to love better but fall short, when the world seems loud with wrong and quiet with truth. In those seasons, it's easy to feel that nothing will ever be enough. But here, Jesus reminds us that this hunger is not in vain. It leads somewhere. It is not a bottomless pit. It is a pathway to satisfaction, a thirst that draws us nearer to the source of living water. He doesn't ask us to be full tonight. He simply blesses the hunger. Let that settle in your heart as you rest now. The idea that your yearning is holy. Your ache for justice, for kindness, for integrity, for peace, is not weakness. It is strength. It is evidence that the Spirit is moving in you, whispering of a world that is more than what we see. A kingdom not of power and pride, but of mercy and truth and deep compassion. The hunger itself is a sign that you are being drawn into that kingdom, not as a visitor, but as a beloved citizen. Tonight, if you feel empty, if you feel like you've been reaching for something good and it's always just out of reach, hear this promise again. You will be satisfied. Not always quickly, not always in the ways you expect, but fully, truly, deeply, in ways that heal and fill and overflow. God is not blind to your longing. He placed it there. He shaped your heart to crave what is true. And even now, as you breathe slowly and let your body sink into rest, He is already working to meet you in that place of need. You don't have to understand it all. You don't have to solve the world's problems tonight. You don't have to be perfectly righteous to long for righteousness. The longing itself is enough. It is blessed, and it will be answered, not with noise, not with striving, but with quiet grace. Like morning dew settling over dry ground, like a table prepared in the wilderness, like water from a well that never runs dry. So let yourself feel the hunger, but do not fear it. Let yourself thirst for what is good and just and true, and know that even in your longing, you are already seen, already loved, already on the path toward deep and lasting satisfaction. You are not wandering aimlessly. You are being gently led toward wholeness, toward healing, toward the heart of God. And there, every hunger will be fed, every thirst will be quenched, every cry will be answered with peace. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. The words seem to linger in the air, soft and healing, inviting you to lean in closer. Mercy is a gentle force, almost invisible in a world that so often prizes strength and quick judgment. Yet mercy has a way of changing everything it touches. It is the quiet miracle that breaks cycles of anger, softens hardened hearts, and makes space for healing where only pain had been before. Mercy is never loud or boastful, but when it arrives, you know it. It moves slowly, with patience, listening instead of accusing, reaching out instead of drawing lines, offering a second chance when others turn away. Think of the times you have longed for mercy, maybe after a mistake you made, a word you wish you could take back, a moment of weakness you wish you could erase. Think of how your heart ached for someone, anyone, to look at you not with disappointment or disdain, but with understanding. Think of how a single act of forgiveness, a quiet word of reassurance, or a gentle gesture changed everything, even if only for a moment. That is the blessing of mercy. It does not ignore the truth, but it wraps it in compassion, holding both honesty and hope together in open hands. As you listen, you may remember faces, names, moments from your own journey. Perhaps there was someone who showed you mercy when you least deserved it, a friend who stayed when you were at your lowest, a loved one who forgave even though the wound still stung. A stranger who smiled at you on a difficult day. A teacher who gave you another chance. A parent whose embrace never wavered, no matter what. Mercy is often quiet, and yet its echoes linger far beyond the moment. It is never wasted. Every act of mercy plants a seed that grows in places we cannot always see. But mercy is not only for receiving, it is for giving too. Blessed are those who choose the path of mercy, even when it is hard, even when the world tells you to hold a grudge, to settle the score, to make others pay for what they've done. Mercy steps into the story with a different script. It says, I see you. I know you are more than your worst mistake. I believe in the possibility of change, in the hope of a new beginning. Mercy looks past the anger and the hurt and sees the human heart beneath, wounded, yes, but still longing for grace. There will always be moments when forgiveness seems impossible, when the hurt is too deep or the memory too fresh. But mercy does not demand forgetting. It simply opens a door to healing, a chance to start again, a whisper that you are not alone in your pain. To show mercy is not to deny what happened, but to choose love over bitterness, to choose peace over revenge, to set yourself free from the heavy chains of resentment. And in doing so, you discover that mercy is a river. As you pour it out, it returns to you, filling the dry places of your own spirit. Tonight, as you rest, reflect on the people in your life who might need mercy. Maybe it is someone close to you. Maybe it is yourself. Perhaps there is a burden you have been carrying, a conflict that feels unresolved, a memory that stings whenever it rises to the surface. In the quiet darkness, imagine what it would feel like to let go, to release the weight, to offer forgiveness not as a sign of weakness, but as a gift of strength for yourself and for others. Mercy has a way of multiplying. The more you give, the more you receive, until your own heart is filled to overflowing with the peace that only God can give. There is something sacred about mercy. It is the doorway to reconciliation, the key that unlocks the hardened places in ourselves and others. It is the song that reminds us we are all human, all broken, all in need of grace. Jesus knew this. That is why he blessed the merciful, why he promised that mercy would be theirs in return. Because in the end, every act of mercy brings us closer to God's own heart, a heart that never gives up, never runs out, never stops loving. So as you sink into rest, let mercy fill your dreams. Let it soften your thoughts, loosen your fears, and ease the burdens you've carried too long. Imagine a world where everyone, just for one night, chose mercy. Imagine the healing, the hope, the fresh beginnings, and know that this is not only possible, it is already happening. Every time you choose compassion over judgment, gentleness over anger, forgiveness over pain, you are blessed when you show mercy. You are never more like God than in those moments. And as you give, you shall receive, again and again, mercy flowing like a river, finding you even as you sleep. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. The words rest gently, inviting you deeper into stillness, offering a kind of peace that can only come from within. Purity of heart is something rare, something precious, something that glows softly beneath the surface of our daily lives. It's not about perfection or spotless living, not about getting every detail right or never making a mistake. To be pure in heart is to be honest, to be open, to let your truest self stand before God and the world, unmasked and unafraid. It is to long for what is good and true, even when the world around you seems cloudy and confused. It is to yearn for light, to seek beauty, to hold on to hope even when shadows fall. Imagine a heart that is simple, not cluttered by pride or weighed down by secret motives. A heart like a clear stream where light dances on the surface and you can see all the way to the bottom. This is the heart Jesus blesses, not the hardest working, not the most successful, not even the most religious, but the pure, a heart that comes as it is, not trying to impress, not trying to hide, just longing for God. In that longing, there is no shame. In that honesty, there is freedom. The pure in heart are not those who have never stumbled, but those who keep coming back to the light, who turn again and again to what is good, to what is right, to what is loving. To be pure in heart means to have nothing to hide. Imagine living that way, with no secrets, no masks, no fear of being exposed. Imagine the relief of not having to keep up appearances, not having to pretend. Imagine the quiet joy of being able to stand before God and simply say, "Here I am, all of me." There is nothing more restful than to be fully known and fully loved. There is no deeper peace than to let your soul be seen, just as it is, and find blessing there. Maybe tonight, as you rest, you realize how tired you are of pretending. Maybe you're weary of the pressure to be more, to do more, to keep up with expectations that weigh heavy on your shoulders. In this moment, you're invited to let all of that go, to lay it down at the feet of the one who sees you, not as the world sees, but as you truly are, with kindness, with compassion, with eyes that never look away. Purity of heart is not something you achieve on your own. It is a gift that grows as you open yourself to God's gentle presence. It is born in surrender, in quietness, in trust. As you listen, you might remember moments when your heart felt clear and uncluttered, walking in nature as sunlight poured through the trees, laughing with someone you love, finding beauty in unexpected places, feeling awe rise up inside you for no reason at all. These are glimpses of a pure heart, moments when you are simply yourself and God feels near. The promise is that those who are pure in heart will see God, not only someday, far away, but here and now, in the quiet wonders of each day, in the tenderness of each breath, in the silence that settles over you as you prepare for sleep. Think of the ways you can nurture this purity. It might be as simple as turning your thoughts toward gratitude, as gentle as choosing kindness when no one else will see, as honest as admitting your need for grace and help. Every time you choose the simple, true way over the complicated hidden path, you are clearing space in your heart for light to shine. Every moment you turn back toward goodness. No matter how many times you have strayed, you are making your heart pure. It is a journey, not a destination, and tonight you are on that path. Let yourself rest in the truth that you do not have to work harder, try harder, or strive for some impossible standard. You're invited to bring your whole self into the light, trusting that there you will find only love. Trust that God delights in the real you, the you that is sometimes afraid, sometimes doubtful, sometimes messy. The more you open your heart, the more you will see Him, not with your eyes, but with the deep knowing of your soul. As you drift towards sleep, imagine your heart as a window, clear and open, letting the gentle light of God's love pour in. Let that light wash over every worry, every regret, every hidden fear. Let it fill you with peace. Let it remind you that you are blessed, not for being flawless, but for being honest, for coming as you are, for seeking what is true. The pure in heart see God everywhere, in the quiet, in the laughter, in the stillness, in the sunrise, in the love of a friend, in the hope that refuses to fade. Tonight, be still. Let your heart rest. Know that you are blessed and that the one who sees you also loves you, fully, completely, and forever. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. These words have a special kind of quiet power, shimmering like a promise at the edge of a restless world. There's something different about a person who carries peace, something steady, something safe, like the hush that falls after a storm has passed. Peacemaking isn't just about avoiding conflict or keeping things calm on the surface. It's a calling to move gently through the world, carrying reconciliation in your hands, bringing hearts together that have drifted apart, healing wounds that still ache in the silence of night. Peacemakers are not simply peace lovers. They are those who build peace, even when it's costly, even when the world seems intent on breaking it apart. Think of the places in your own life where peace feels fragile. Maybe in your relationships, where a careless word has left a bruise, or in your family, where old misunderstandings linger in the air. Maybe you notice it in your community, where differences can spark division, or even within yourself, when anxious thoughts swirl and make it hard to rest. Peace is never just the absence of trouble, but the presence of something beautiful and whole, something that reaches beneath the surface and soothes what is restless. Peacemakers are those who notice the wounds, who refuse to turn away, who step into hard spaces not with judgment, but with listening, patience, and hope. Imagine what it feels like to be a bringer of peace, to be the one who listens when everyone else is talking, to be the first to forgive, to choose kindness when anger is the easy path. Peacemaking can be as simple as a soft word in a tense moment, a gentle question that invites someone to share their story, an act of understanding that diffuses bitterness before it can grow. It can be the courage to say, "I'm sorry," or "I forgive you," or simply, "I'm here." It can be the patience to wait for wounds to heal, to walk with someone through their pain, to hope for reconciliation even when it seems impossible. Every small act of peace is like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples outward far beyond what you can see. To be a peacemaker is to become a living reflection of God's own heart. It means carrying a gentle strength that is not shaken by the chaos around you. You are called a child of God not because you are perfect at peace, but because you have inherited His character, the one who makes peace with us, who enters our brokenness, who speaks calm over the storms of our lives. Imagine God looking at you, seeing your longing for peace, your efforts to build bridges, your quiet work to bring understanding, and calling you His child. You are not alone in this work. You are not forgotten. Even when your efforts feel small or unnoticed, or when peace seems far away, you are blessed. There is a special rest that comes to the peacemaker at the end of the day. As you settle in tonight, feel the gentle weight of the calling you carry. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to fix everything right away. Sometimes the deepest peace comes in the smallest moments. A shared silence, a reassuring touch, the warmth of simply being present. Maybe tonight is an invitation to forgive someone who hurt you, or to reach out to someone you've been missing. Maybe it's a moment to forgive yourself for things you wish you'd done differently, and let peace settle softly within you, healing what is restless inside. Peacemaking often goes unseen, but its fruit is lasting. The world changes not only through big gestures, but through ordinary people who choose gentleness, who turn away from anger, who hold space for hope. As you let your breathing slow and the quiet of the night enfolds you, imagine peace growing within you, spreading from your heart to your home, from your words to your world. Let it be enough tonight to rest in the promise that you are called a child of God, and that your gentle efforts are treasured, every single one. The journey toward peace is not always easy, but it is holy. It is marked by small acts of courage, moments of kindness, choices to love when it would be easier to close your heart. You are not walking this path alone. The blessing rests on you, gently, deeply, whispering that even in a noisy, restless world, there is still a place for peacemakers. And tonight, as you close your eyes, may the peace you have given return to you like a soft tide, covering you with comfort, reminding you that you are seen, you are loved, you are truly, deeply blessed. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The words fall softly, carrying both weight and wonder, offering a comfort that can only be truly felt by those who know what it is to stand alone for what is right. Persecution is not a word that comes with ease or lightness. It speaks of misunderstanding, of rejection, of the ache of being set apart because you choose goodness over convenience, truth over silence, love over fear. And yet here, in the stillness of this sacred space, Jesus declares that those who endure for righteousness are not forgotten, not overlooked, not diminished, but blessed. To live for righteousness is to choose the path that honors God, even when the world offers easier roads. It means being true to what you know is right, holding on to integrity, speaking with honesty, acting with compassion, even when the voices around you rise in disagreement or the crowd moves the other way. It can be lonely, can't it? To hold your ground when others walk away, to be gentle when others are harsh, to keep hope alive when cynicism is easier. There are days when it feels as though the world does not see or care about the quiet stand you take for kindness and truth. You may feel invisible, isolated, even small, but here, in these words, you are seen and you are called blessed. Think of those in history and in your own life who have chosen righteousness at great cost. The prophets who spoke truth when it was dangerous. The ordinary people who loved when it was hard. The quiet ones who forgave when it would have been easier to hate. The steadfast souls who built their lives on a foundation of faith even when storms came. They walked this very road. And though the world may have misunderstood them, the kingdom of heaven grew around them, quietly, steadily, a promise that nothing given for the sake of goodness is ever lost. Maybe you have felt the sting of standing alone, for your beliefs, for your kindness, for your refusal to join in gossip, for your insistence on forgiveness, for your hope in a world that sometimes mocks hope. Perhaps you have been misunderstood, left out, or even ridiculed for your faith or your values. Perhaps your choices have set you apart, or your longing for justice has made others uncomfortable. It is not easy, this path, and yet there is a deep, hidden strength in it, the kind that roots itself quietly, drawing nourishment from a kingdom that does not pass away. There is a unique comfort for those who suffer for righteousness. It's not the shallow comfort of easy answers, but the deep assurance that you are not alone in your struggle. The very presence of God is with you. The promise is not that there will be no pain, but that your pain is precious to Him. The kingdom of heaven, that reality where God's will is done, where love rules, where peace is unbreakable, belongs to you, right in the middle of your hardship, right where your faith is tested and your heart feels most vulnerable. As you settle into the quiet, let your mind wander to all the ways you have chosen goodness, even when it cost you something. The gentle word spoken instead of the sharp reply. The extra kindness offered to someone who did not return it. The moments you stood up for truth when it would have been easier to stay silent. The countless small decisions that no one else may have seen, but God did. These are the seeds of the kingdom, sown in secret but growing into something eternal. Let yourself rest in the knowledge that every moment of faithfulness matters, every act of courage, every quiet sacrifice, every choice to love when it's hard, every step taken in the name of what is right is seen by the one who calls you blessed. You are not defined by the way others treat you or by the difficulties you face. You are defined by the love that lives within you, by the truth that you carry, by the light that you refuse to hide. And in this light, you're never alone. If you feel weary tonight, remember that the blessing is not just for those who have it easy, but especially for those who have carried burdens for the sake of righteousness. The kingdom is yours, not someday, but right now, as you rest, as you breathe, as you allow these words to fill the places that ache with hope and longing. Close your eyes and imagine a kingdom that cannot be shaken, a home where you are always welcome, a table where you have a place of honor. This is what Jesus promises. This is what is already breaking in, gently, quietly, beneath the surface of your everyday life. So let peace settle over you now, washing away every trace of fear, every shadow of loneliness. Know that your life, lived for righteousness, is precious beyond measure. Know that the kingdom is drawing near, not because of what you've achieved, but because you have chosen to love, to hope, to stand. Blessed are you, child of the kingdom. Blessed are you, even now, as you let go of today and surrender to the gentle embrace of night. There is a unique kind of courage in the life of faith, a quiet bravery that often goes unseen by the world. When Jesus spoke of those who are persecuted for righteousness, he offered not only comfort, but also honor to those who, day by day, choose to stand for what is true, even when it costs them something. Yet, even beyond persecution, there is another layer to this blessing: the courage it takes simply to keep going, to keep believing, to keep loving in a world that does not always understand or reward such things. There is a particular kind of strength in the soul that holds fast to goodness when cynicism is fashionable, that chooses hope when disappointment would be easier, that reaches for light even when the shadows gather close. This is the courage to stand. Sometimes this courage looks dramatic, standing up for justice, refusing to join in with cruelty, defending those who have no one else on their side. But more often, it is small and quiet, woven into the fabric of ordinary days. It is the courage to forgive when you've been hurt, to remain gentle in the face of harshness, to persist in kindness even when your efforts seem to vanish like drops in the ocean. It is the determination to be honest when a lie would make things simpler, the willingness to serve when no one notices, the refusal to become bitter when life feels unfair. In the stillness of night, when you think back on your life, you might realize how often you have chosen this path, sometimes without even realizing it. There is something beautiful in the stories of those who keep walking when others give up, who refuse to let their hearts be hardened by disappointment. Maybe you remember times you felt misunderstood or alone, when you wondered if it was worth it to keep caring, to keep trying, to keep hoping. Maybe you have seen doors close, faced seasons when prayers seemed to go unanswered, or felt the ache of loving people who could not or would not love you back. And yet here you are, still choosing the way of Jesus, still letting love guide your steps, still believing that there is good worth holding onto in this world. Let yourself feel the weight of that courage. You do not have to be fearless to be brave. True courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to keep moving forward, to keep your heart open, to keep seeking God's way, even when you feel small and unseen. It is the quiet choice to get up again after falling, to ask for help when you are weak, to offer grace when you are tired. It is sometimes as simple as taking one more step, saying one more prayer, holding on to hope for one more night. The world may never know the depth of the battles you've faced, the tears you've shed in secret, the silent prayers you've whispered in the dark, but God knows, and He calls you blessed. Imagine now a garden at dusk, the sky fading from blue to gold to deepest purple. You walk among the flowers, some blooming bright and bold, others small and hidden in the shadows, each one unique, each one precious. Some have weathered storms, lost petals, been trampled underfoot. Yet they stand, reaching for the last rays of sun, offering their fragrance to the evening air. This is you. This is your heart. Resilient and beautiful, standing in the gentle light of God's blessing. There may be moments when you question if it's worth it, when you feel alone in your choices, when the world's noise threatens to drown out your quiet faith. In those moments, remember that you are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, those who have walked this road before you, those who have known the same struggles, who have chosen to stand, to love, to hope. Their courage is your inheritance. Their prayers echo in your own. Their hope lights a path before your feet. You are not alone. As you settle into the softness of the night, allow your heart to be filled with gentle strength. Know that every act of faithfulness, every moment of courage, every step you take toward goodness matters more than you can see. You are writing a story with your life, a story of trust, of perseverance, of love that endures. And every night you choose to rest in God's care. Every morning you rise to try again. Every breath you take in hope is a victory. The kingdom of heaven belongs to you, not because you are always strong, but because you have chosen, again and again, to stand, to believe, to love. So let the worries of the day slip away now. Feel the deep peace that comes from knowing you are seen, you are honored, you are cherished. You do not have to prove your worth. Your courage has already been noticed. Your faith has already been counted precious. As you drift towards sleep, remember that you are never alone, never forgotten. The gentle whisper of blessing settles over you like a warm blanket. Yours is the kingdom of heaven. Yours is the promise that every struggle will be redeemed. Every tear will be wiped away, and every act of love will last forever. Rest now, brave soul. You are blessed. The night is deepening, and all around you the world is growing quiet, settling into its own gentle rhythm of rest. In the stillness you can feel the echoes of every blessing spoken, every whispered word of comfort, every promise Jesus gave on that hillside so long ago. Each one of those Beatitudes is not just an ancient saying, but a living invitation, a gentle call that reaches out across time and space and finds you right where you are, right now, in this soft, sacred moment. You don't need to strive or perform or prove yourself. There is no list of requirements to receive this peace. You are welcomed, just as you are, into the embrace of a love that never tires, a kindness that never ends, a grace that holds you through every season and every shadow. Listen to the hush in the air, the soothing melody of God's promises wrapping around your heart like a soft blanket. Let the words linger as you sink deeper into rest. You are blessed, not just in your brightest moments, but even in your weariness, your questions, your gentle longing for something more. The blessings Jesus spoke were not reserved for the perfect or the powerful, but for the humble, the hurting, the searching, the ones who are simply willing to listen. As you let these words settle, allow them to become a gentle lullaby for your soul. Each blessing is an assurance that you are seen, known, and loved beyond all measure, even when you feel most invisible. Think of how each beatitude has reached into the secret places of your heart tonight. Maybe you have felt poor in spirit, longing for a kingdom where you belong. Maybe you have known sorrow and have been comforted by the hope that you are never alone. Perhaps you found strength in gentleness, healing in longing, the sweetness of mercy, or the deep peace that comes with a pure heart. Maybe you have carried peace into the world, or have quietly endured hardship for the sake of what is good and right. Each one of these blessings has met you in your story, gently affirming that your journey is precious, that your presence in this world matters, and that nothing you have walked through is wasted. Now, in the silence that follows, notice how the room seems softer, the darkness less heavy, the weight of the day lifting as you surrender to rest. Let your breathing slow, your muscles relax, your thoughts gently drift away. Picture yourself back on that hillside, surrounded by peace, embraced by love, the stars just beginning to appear overhead. The voice of Jesus is not far away or lost in the past. It is here, near, speaking life over you, blessing you, calling you by name. Imagine that every worry you have carried, every regret, every burden is gently placed at his feet. Nothing is too heavy for him, nothing too complicated. You do not have to carry it alone. Let the sweetness of surrender fill your heart, a letting go, a quiet trust that you are safe, you are held, you are deeply, eternally loved. The blessings of the Beatitudes are not promises for another day, but for this moment, this quiet night, this gentle rest. If your mind wanders to people you love, let them be gathered into this blessing too. See them wrapped in peace, embraced by mercy, watched over with tenderness. Even those who are far away, even those you worry for or miss tonight, are held in the same gentle hands. The God who blesses you is always near, always attentive, always whispering words of hope over every soul. And as the world fades to quiet, let yourself be reminded that you are part of a great story, the story of God's love, unfolding in ordinary lives, in silent prayers, in every act of kindness and every moment of faithfulness, no matter how small. The night is long and gentle, but the morning will come, and with it, new mercies and new beginnings. For now, it is enough to rest, to receive, to let yourself be blessed. The blessings of Jesus do not fade with the setting sun. They linger through the night, guarding your dreams, guiding your heart, filling every corner of your life with meaning and with peace. So as you drift deeper into sleep, may you carry these whispered words with you, soft as a lullaby, strong as a promise, reminding you that you are never alone. You are loved, you are seen, you are blessed. And as your eyes grow heavy and your breathing grows slow, may the peace of Christ hold you, keeping you safe until morning light. Good night, beloved soul. Rest in blessing, rest in peace.